The first story of the day is about France. They're having some really big protests, and it's a crazy, interesting protest because it's not like the United States or some other countries where it's kind of manufactured or organized by a big group. You know, they get out in the streets, they organize it, and it's like one side of the political debate and the other side. This is actually a protest that seems to be uniting even the far right to the far left, from socialists to like, Marine Le Pen and the far right and the right-wing conservatives from France. According to the BBC, I checked out their article and I cross-referenced. I made sure I didn't just use one, but I got a lot of stats. There's about 5,000 protesters. It's being led by people called the Yellow Jackets or the Yellow Vests, and they wear yellow vests, as you could guess. Yes, we're very smart here. Last Saturday, 600 people got injured and 2 people got killed. They started protesting again recently. According to these reports, like I said, it's uniting the far left from the, progressive socialists to the far right. Everybody's upset. I mean, Macron is ridiculously unpopular. I've reported on it here because of the news. Like, they act like he's so cool. They're like, Macron told Trump not to be a nationalist, and all the liberals in the United States, no disrespect, but the left is like, oh, Macron is so great. He's telling Trump not to be a nationalist. But it's like, it's kind of like San Francisco and LA to me. I mean, beautiful cities, but it's like, why are you talking about Trump when you have poverty and homelessness sky high? You're like leading the country in terrible things, yet you think you're like owning someone and you can't even take care of your own people. That's kind of like France. His approval rating dips from as low as 19% to 25%. So you talk about the marches here. Half the country agrees with them, half the country doesn't. It's pretty peaceful and chill. People go home. This one is not peaceful and chill. The police are getting involved. They're spraying people. 2 people were killed. 600 people were injured. But even with that, according to some reports, up to 73% of people agree with the protest. That's unfathomable for us. Here, I'll give you an example. Like, the media here, they made Charlottesville like the big protest that's like all controversial in the news. So when it comes to Charlottesville, they probably have like a 10% approval rating as far as like who approved. If they asked right-wing people hate the Charlottesville protest more than the left because the right's been trying to rebrand themselves with like new age people, and they kind of frame that event like that's the new right, and nobody even knows who these people are. The Unite the Right protester, I believe it was run by Brian Kessler, who was also at Occupy Wall Street, and he was a big Obama and Hillary supporter. All of a sudden anyway, what I'm trying to say is Charlottesville, 1 person died. It was a weird event. People fought each other. Nobody approves it. If you asked the United States who approved that, it would probably be below 10%, if even that. But here, people are dying. Both sides of the political debate are together for the same exact cause. And even though people are dying and getting injured, still 73% of the population agrees with the protest. That's how bad and how unpopular Macron is. So what are they protesting? I read a lot of sources to try to figure it out because, the media rarely tells the truth. So I had to I'll tell you all angles. They're protesting, according to a lot of reports, the gas tax and the price of fuel. So unlike LA, they voted in Gavin Newsom, who was like, pro-gas tax, and they're taxing the gas. And in France, it's very unpopular. They put an environmental tax on the gas because that's what politicians do. They say, we're going to save the world. We're like, how are you going to do it? You're going to invent something, plant more trees? They're like, no, we're going to steal your money, and then we're going to save the environment. How come it always ends in stealing my money? The people of France picked up on that, and they're very unhappy with the price of gas, which is interesting. I just thought of this like a week ago. Trump was saying with Saudi Arabia, although the left and the right doesn't really trust Saudi Arabia, Trump was like, listen, the gas prices are low. Like in the United States, we're so blessed in many ways. We don't even understand what it's like for the whole country to be united because the gas prices are too high and the taxes are too high. So according to this report, they said that the government is blaming ultra-right gangs. So just like here in the United States, the government or the people in charge, I guess not the government now that Trump's in office, but even though the left, the socialists are in on this, this is kind of like when the Democratic Party was unpopular and it was like Bernie Sanders socialists who were leading these revolts on CNN and stuff. The media is like, oh, it's the far right. It's like, what are you talking about? It's not the far right. It's literally Bernie Sanders supporters that are mad at you and you're blaming the far right. They're doing that in France. They think it's ultra-right gangs, even though the left and the right and 73% of the population This is directly out of the BBC. This is how delusional they are. They said, its diversity and democracy has been its strength so far, but also makes its ultimate vision unclear and its membership hard to control. So this is like BBC trying to figure out why all of France is upset at Macron. They're like, it's his diversity and democracy is his strength. Like, what does that even mean? Yeah, diversity, we get it. We have black, white, Latino, Christian, Muslim. Yeah, we're diverse. Like, I get it. But is that your strength? Like, oh, we're diverse and democracy. Like, those are empty terms. It's like, we're so diverse. Yeah, that's great. We all love everybody who follows the law and is a good person. But like, if that's your strength, it's not your economy, it's not your policies, it's not your low tax, it's not lowering crime, it's not making people happier, it's not raising wages. Your strength is two words that bluntly mean pretty much nothing in the modern era. And they can't figure out why they're so unsuccessful. The Yellow Vests blamed environmental tax for the rise in petroleum and diesel. Government says it's the world oil markets, tax rises, wages. People feel like they're working very hard in France, but they're still struggling. So very interesting. I'll move on to the next story, but I just want to say in France, it seems like they're destabilizing themselves. I'm sure they're going to be fine. Sorry, I got to breathe. But they let in a bunch of refugees and migrants. We're going to talk about this in the next story. And now Paris is way less safe than it used to be. That's just the truth. They're not going to say it, but people in Paris and people in France are not happy because their country used to be pretty safe, and now it's not quite as safe. They have a terrorist fence built around the Eiffel Tower. You know, there's streets you can't go down anymore. It's being filled with trash. It's starting to look like Los Angeles, trash everywhere. Didn't used to be like that. So people are unhappy about that. Then you get Macron into office, and he claims he's a centrist. They say, no, Macron is not too far left, he's not too far right. The mainstream media, Washington Post, New York Times, CNN, Obama endorsed him. It's like they're painting the picture that he's this perfect soul, like he's the next guy who's just perfect for the country. Even with all that good PR, even with all their manipulation, the media manipulation, Twitter feature stories, they have Google literally playing on their side, they still can't convince the people of France that he's a good leader, because he's not. He's not doing anything right. He's not doing migration right. He's not doing the refugee crisis right. He's not running the economy right. He's not lowering taxes. He's raising environmental taxes, and yet the world's climate's not changing just because he stole the money from the people. So nobody's happy there, and you could expect him to, exit shortly. I mean, they're trying to get him to resign. The protests, they're shutting down streets, doing all sorts of crazy stuff. But like I said, it's not like in the United States where it's organized by one side and the other side doesn't agree. It's literally far left and far right and everyone in the middle uniting because nobody likes this guy. And nobody really should, because he's a total puppet. The media lied to put him there. They acted like everything else is racist. And reality is setting in. Even Hillary Clinton recently admitted that migration in Europe is going terribly. I'm sure that has a little bit to do with why the right's upset, but the left is more economy, and they don't like what's going on. So that's the France protest. Look more into it if you'd like more information.